Hello and welcome back to Kaiserreich. Having a look at the Russian situation right now, I very much hope that the Great Khan himself declares war on Russia, because if he does, even if just the Khan or Japan does something, the way this looks right now, with the Khanate not only holding on, but actually like pushing a little bit beyond their own borders, makes me think that Russia is not in a very good state militarily right now. Their manpower is not bad, and they have a lot of divisions, but if you look at this, 19 to 34, the just complete military supremacy of Russia should really indicate that, I mean, with their like complete military supremacy, they should be able to push into the Turkestan Khanate very easily. Oh boy, a bit loud here, but yeah. So I'm thinking the reason for that is that they have a lot of troops committed to borders in various other regions, specifically, for example, Mongolia and Japan, which are clear and clear and open threats to Russia. Now, tying up those troops would allow this thing that's happening in Turkestan possibly to continue. And if either of these powers declare war, I think we should seize the opportunity. Because the only way Russia, I think, is going to collapse in this timeline right now is if they get surrounded on all sides. Historically, the Russian geography has not been very well suited to fighting wars on multiple fronts. They've got kind of like a strangely a German dilemma, but not really. The issue here is more so that the geography is, I mean, the scale of everything is so vast that transporting troops from one front to the other takes, I don't know, like forever. It takes months, if not maybe up to a year. I'm not sure how long it takes on the like using infrastructure mode. I believe if you transport them by rail, on the tiles which contain the Siberian or Trans-Siberian Railway, it might take just a couple of months or a month. But even so, it takes a long time to transport a troop or like a unit of leg infantry from, for example, Dvinsk to Nikolaevsk or Vladivostok. So a war with Japan, as well as something happening in the West, can quickly lead to something like the Russo-Japanese War of, I believe it was 1905, but I might be incorrect, where, Japan defeated Russia and kind of created the perception that Russia, because of, the sort of racist, I guess, imperialist tendencies or attitudes of the time, created the impression that either Russia was backwards or everyone had, their perception of Japan wrong, because Japan had challenged and succeeded in challenging a European, secondary but still, large power. Russia was, I believe, considered a great power, but not necessarily on par with something like Germany or France or Britain and so on. Either way, let's see. Let's go to the focuses and figure out which one we're going to go with, now that we're done with my opening triad or whatever you call it. I think we're going to go with these guys over here. We don't really need special forces, but we're going to go down cold weather training and Sisu, because Sisu gives amazing defensive capabilities, and so does total defense, with division attack on core territory by 10%, and total defense gives division defense on core territory, which is really good. And of course, cold weather training with minus 10% went to attrition. Nobody knows Finland's terrain better than the Finnish army itself. However, it is also prudent that we take steps to ensure that our military is able to withstand any sort of cold temperature so as to give us greater advantage on our home turf. Alright. Unpausing. I forget, was that the, that is the Turkish song, or the Ottoman song, right? Nikris, whatever, sorry, the Nikris Pezrev. That's Ottoman, right? It might be Indian and I'm completely incorrect, but I think it's Ottoman, or Turkish. Kind of skipped the American song there, I'm sorry. Also, we have significant oil, or like significant enough oil production to keep our submarines in activity, or like keep our submarines active for ever, indefinitely. So I'm going to activate our home fleet here as well, the recon fleet essentially, the shipping protection stuff, the inner sea fleet here, and oh, Zambia was annexed. Zambia was the one with the German-looking flag, which to me indicates that they should be on the western coast somewhere, taken by Barotsaland and Garanganze. Where are you? Oh, I don't know, I'm sorry. Oh, there it is. Fucking huge, dude. And where's that? Oh, okay, that's it. Zambia would be there. Yeah, this is Zambia. Northern Zambezia and South Zambezia, yeah. I'm noticing when I pan, the game does get kind of framey. And that's been going on since basically the beginning. That's just a problem that Kaiserreich generally has, and I mean Hearts of Iron 4 to an extent as well. And it just keeps getting worse the further into the late game you get. But especially in Kaiserreich, with just so many wars going on all over the world, it can get kind of insane. Especially when countries sign peace deals. With stuff like here with Africa, where there are a bunch of smaller wars, there'll be a lot of peace deals, which will cause the game to hang a little. I'm surprised is his name Frank Merriam? Yeah, Frank Merriam is actually holding on as well as he is. He's defending largely plains and stuff here. He does have mountains here, where most of the fighting seems to be happening, according to the icons at least. Which is strange, because that's not the place you want to fight in. You want to fight up here, like they just took territory. Might just be that these are wide open spaces, and it might be that MacArthur's armies are actually already moving onto the territory here and not actually fighting. It's just taking a while for them to actually reach the territories. Oh boy. This is cool. So the American Union state has basically been reduced to Texas plus half of Louisiana, a little bit of Oklahoma, and just like a tiny sliver of Arkansas. And they hold a tiny sliver of New Mexico as well, alongside a river here, which this river should be the... Oh, actually, I have no clue. I actually don't know. Yeah, because this is the, this should be the Colorado River, I believe. As it passes south of Las Vegas and goes through Colorado and Utah, and then Arizona. Don't know a lot about American geography, sadly. I don't know most of the states and their locations and stuff, but and you know their general shapes and so on and so forth, but none of the like specific stuff inside the states and such. Like ask me about lakes and stuff, and I'll blank. Or you know rivers and mountains and stuff like that. And I know where the Rockies are, but it's hard to not know where they are. They're just like this huge stretch of brown on the world map in America. You know, going down this way. So this is correct me if I'm wrong, but this is Portuguese, right? Because it's got the C thing and the squiggle over the A. This like CAO thing is a telltale sign of Portuguese from my experience when playing GeoGuessr. It's how you know you're either in Portugal or Brazil, and then you look at the road signs to see if you're in Brazil, see if you can see like state signs or whatever to indicate what state you're in. Though generally, if you end up in Brazil in GeoGuessr, you might as well just resign. It's so fucking huge, dude. If you aren't aware, GeoGuessr is a game that uses Google Maps and basically puts you in Google Street View. You have to basically walk around collecting clues, trying to figure out where in the world you are, and then you guess on a map, figure out, and then you get points. It's a lot of fun. I mean, if you're a like geography nerd, I guess, which, you know, clearly I'm staring at a map, so Patagonian Workers' Front has capitulated. Yo, what is that flag? It's like a green and red version of the Habsburg Spanish imperial flag or whatever it's called, like the Spanish Habsburg flag. Because it was white in the background and then red across, I believe. Can't tell what those birds are from this like extremely small view, but Gran Peru. Patagonian Workers' Front, yeah, although the struggles between Argentina and the Patagonian Workers' Front are over. There you go. Argentina is still at all-out war and the fighting continues elsewhere. Who are they at war with? They're at war with Chile. Yeah, syndicalist led by Marmaduke Grove. Probably not the way you pronounce it, because you know, considering it's in the Latin American language sphere. Probably something like Marmaduke, and then Grove or something. I want to look at the Fengshan warrior. It's always a population or demographic disaster when Japan and China go to war with each other, and especially when China and China go to war with each other. The Russian Republic declared war on Georgia. Oh boy, is that Stalin? I smell. Well, that's Lavrenti Beria. That's I mean, arguably worse. He was the head of Soviet, I believe, intelligence or like military intelligence in before Stalin's death. I believe he was liquidated a while after Stalin's death, some like a year or a couple of years after Stalin's death. I don't think he was the head of the NKVD. I think he was the head of, or I think he might have been the head of the NKVD, but then the NKVD became something else, which then, you know, became the KGB. The Russians did, or the Soviets did love their, you know, nested bureaucracy with all these different names and different institutions, which always changed names and became this bureaucratic mess. There he is. There's Stalin. Minister of the Interior, Josep B. Jugashvili. Joseph Stalin being, of course, Georgian, and I believe distancing himself from his ancestry when he became influential in the Soviet Union. I'm interested, what does actually Pasha mean in terms of the like Turkish naming conventions and stuff? Because a lot of figures from the sort of Ottoman Empire, late Ottoman Empire, early Turkey kind of period, are named something Pasha. Is it just a very common name in the Anatolian region, or is it just, or is it like a patronym or a Muscat has joined the Entente, or is it a otherwise some sort of like part of the naming convention? I don't know. So I know Enver Pasha, like Ottoman general or Turkish general, I guess, in World War One. As well as the Pashas here now in Armenia here, Bogas Nubar Pasha and Mehmed Vehib Pasha. We don't really need more fuel refining. 3.1 years on our total navy, like full navy activated, is very good. That's all we need. I'll do the ahead of time on the improved computing machine just for the research bonus, which we'll get. It'll pay for the 0.02 or whatever it was. Oh! This song was written by Huey Long. Sort of a campaign chant or theme, I guess, like campaign melody. Every Man a King. Huey Long was one of the first, I believe, to pioneer the use of radio and music and radio for the purposes of campaigning or political campaigning and stuff. Oh ho! Commonwealth of Canada has invaded the Union of Britain. So in the past episode, this Weltkrieg emulated the well, the second Weltkrieg was emulating the first Weltkrieg in many ways, with the kind of with some static lines and stuff. I mean, the first Weltkrieg, I believe, in this timeline as well, was a war of movement, but holy shit. But in this case, it's completely static. This is like the image you have of the First World War, right? Of just months and months of nothing happening. In reality, the first couple of months were very, very active, and on the Western Front, and then it sort of settled down, but it was always about movement and about positioning of troops. The trenches were obviously dug as they moved, because in the end, the defensive capabilities afforded by new technology were greater than the offensive ones. And World War I became a war of artillery, basically. Peace deal has been signed between the Republic of Australasia and the Commune of France. So then Australasia has, it has pulled itself out of the Entente. Dude, This might... I don't know if it's going to succeed yet. It's too early to tell. But if this succeeds, this would probably be the first time I've seen the Commonwealth of Canada retake the British Home Isles without player intervention. And God, I hope it happens. Georgia predictably getting stomped. Turkestan Khanate still somehow holding on, but they are losing ground now. This is when we need the Great Khan to step in. In fact, what is that flag? I've never actually noticed it. I think the Ottoman 2 Darkest Hour Kaiserreich flag for Ungern-Sternberg was kind of just black and with the white, this in white, I think. But this, I don't know, it looks like a castle that's been like turned on its side. It's a very interesting flag. Oh boy, Netherlands has landed in France. Really goes to show how they fixed the naval invasion AI. I mean, they didn't do so well here, but at least they've taken you know, they've established a very strong foothold in Wales, protected by rivers and no mountains apparently. Pretty sure there's meant to be mountains in Wales. Central America joined the Third International. What's the political situation like in Mexico? It is very red. In fact, so red that they are in the International. I might have forgotten that. The next national focus, total defense. Then we'll let that part of the focus tree rest for a while and move on to the next one. Or to another one. I find it very striking how static this is. I really love this song. Oh, and a peace deal. Russian Republic took 2 states from Georgia. Yep. Oh boy. German East Asia has invaded Persia. We want to step up our offensive capabilities to basically get them as modernized and as powerful as, you know, remotely possible. Because being a small nation like this, we need to leverage every advantage we can get. Turkestan is losing. So the Russians have managed to reposition their troops. It just took a while, which is why the Turkestan Khanate had some initial gains. That's kind of the thing with Russia. The mobilization and the positioning of troops is just so slow. The New Zealand crisis. A crisis appears to be deepening in the Republic of Australasia as news organizations report a severing of ties between the Australasian state of New Zealand and the mainland. Support in New Zealand for a new AFM government has never been strong, particularly after its severance of ties with the Entente alliance. And reports are that the state has offered safe haven to new guard paramilitaries, forces fleeing the mainland after failing to overthrow Canberra government in a recent coup attempt. With portions of the Australasian Navy and Army already defecting to New Zealand, the prospect of war looms, one which it is feared may even draw the Entente into a final showdown with the Australasian Republicans. But they managed to pull themselves out of the Entente without having to go to war, and now a crisis in New Zealand is possibly going to provoke a war. I said possibly. There it is. think we're gonna do air reconnaissance next because it gives us an advantage, or it gives us a research bonus for the Humu, which is our next fighter, Fighter 2. Fighter 2 is basically regarded as the most important fighter technology in Kaiserreich, or sorry, in Hearts 1.4. And one that a lot of people in multiplayer, I believe, rush because of how decisive it can be. I've never really been one for, like, strategies like that. Which you can probably tell, I make a lot of inoptimal decisions. New Zealand has joined the Entente, which pulls them into the war. I hope this doesn't stretch the Entente too thinly here. We may as well research this one and then focus on research bonuses and companies for the second one. Let me double check though. Yeah, because we can't do invest in bombers, so we're not going to actually get any bonuses to strategic bombers, so we may as well just research it now. We probably will only have strategic bomber 1. Comparably, the air defense is way higher on 2, but strategic bombing is also equivalently higher. And range is better, but the range of bombers is already quite high. I don't really imagine that we will have a situation where the bombers will be the deciding factor in a war that we. That being said, we are going to invest in bombers in order to try to possibly help disrupt the Russian effort and ability to transport troops closer towards us. Basically, when we start fighting them, the idea is going to be to bomb infrastructure further into Russia in order to prevent reinforcements from reaching us. Going to train all of our troops and try to get them up to regular, and like that's I believe it's experience level 3, and then stop them at that and allow the equipment to stockpile. We already should have a decent stockpile. It's 17,000. That's good. Our finest hour. We've talked about this before in a previous playthrough, but this is the strange fiction that Lord of the Admiralty Winston Churchill has conjured up. It's an alternate history book. The story takes the perspective of a young British soldier returning from a victorious Gallipoli campaign amid a world radically different from our own. In this timeline, Theodore Roosevelt and his Bull Moose Party win the 1912 American presidential elections, leading to an American entry into the Weltkrieg and an Entente victory. A defeated and partially occupied Germany is gripped by constant economic and political crises, witnessing the defeat of the Whites in the Russian Civil War, and is occupied by bitter and extremely nationalist Adam Dressler. He leads the German Workers' Party, who follow the ideology of people's socialism, an extreme version of national populism. The novel ends with the beginning of a three-sided war between Dressler's New Reich, the Western Entente, led by the dominant British Empire, and a Soviet Russia, led by Sergei Kirov. The book has divided critics, with some praising its attention to detail, while others criticize it for large flaws in historical logic. Churchill has commented that something like this could have happened in another universe. What a childish fantasy. So Churchill is the Harry Turtledove of this universe, writing alternate history books that are quite divisive, but still praised for their attention to detail. Anyways, we are at the 30-minute mark, just about. I'll pick a national focus before we go. I'm going to pick aerial reconnaissance. That way I don't have to start the next episode by thinking, what the fuck was I doing last time? Because, I don't record these episodes in bulk right now. I'm recording them. Oh my god, we have too much of this. Okay, I'll deal with that before we go. What if our government, let's see. heavy bomber, because we're gonna do that right now, and we might want to do limited exports. No, I don't know if we have enough resources for it to be worth it. We've got no theorists. We might replace a couple of our ministers, but I'll do that in between episodes and then come back and brief you on everything I've done. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'm still having a blast with this, even though we're kind of passive right now on the current state of the war. We don't have the necessary divisions in order to send volunteers. 5 more until we can do that. Then we can get involved without actually getting involved. I think the place we would like to get involved is somewhere like maybe Spain. Just anywhere where we have a low chance of losing our troops, but can actually help out a little bit. Like send a mountain division or something to Spain. Would be kind of good. It would give us experience as well. We would not send anything here. If we had tanks, we might send something to France or to Britain. But yeah, if you are interested, you can find links to my social media and the community Discord in the description down below. You'll find a link to my Patreon if you'd like to support me, which you would be very generous to do so, but it is entirely not necessary. Also, there is a link to a Humble Bundle affiliate link, which you or anyone you know can use to buy Hearthstone 4 or its expansions, and it would make, it would give you a Steam key, just exactly like buying it on Steam itself, but this time it's from the Humble Bundle store, so you're also giving a cut to charity. You give a good cut to the developers, which is Paradox Development Studio out of Sweden. Good boys making good games, and also you would give me a small cut at no extra cost to you, which makes me very happy and my wallet very happy. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.